All right, people, as promised, this is your last exercise of the semester, and it is a field trip. Yes, I'm using a selfie stick, and we're going to take a little trip.
We're going on a trip in our favorite rocket ship.
No, not on a rocket ship, but we are going via bicycle. All right, I'll see you there. Okay, we're here on the CMU campus on the east side. Let's take a second to pinpoint where we are. And now we're going to take a ride over to our field trip site. We're heading over to Veitz Woods, so here we go. Okay, we're at the field trip site. Behind me is the entrance to Veitz Woods, and we are at the intersection of two streets. One is Toma and the other is Center. So let's locate ourselves on the map, and then we can go in and check it out. All right, here we go. At the high point of this place, we are looking down over a trail. You see a person there. So what I would like us to see first is to get an idea of how high we are above that trail that goes off that way. So let's do that. Here we are. We got a two camera view here, one from up top and one from down bottom. I am holding this camera right here, level with about the top of my head. Now let's pretend that I'm 6 feet tall. Sure, we can do that. How many of me is there on that hill vertically? Well, right at the top of my head, I'm going to say that that hill is about 2.5 of me. Okay, so that works out to about, what, 15 feet? Maybe a little higher. Maybe closer to 3 of me. But we'll look at the topo map and we'll see. All right, see this blue star here? All right, let's get rid of that, because that blue star is where we are right now. And in a minute, I'm going to show you how I got that. But first, I want to show you where the top of the hill is, and that's what the star is showing you. Now, where am I standing? Okay, so this is the distance between me and the top of the hill. So, how many contour lines is this? Well, let's see here. We see the 800? All right, so our elevation right there is just on this side, on the right side, on the southeast side of this contour line that says 800 feet. So we're surrounded by a hill. And let's see, over here is 760. Well, let's see, I cropped this picture so it's a little hard to see, but I'm looking at the contour lines here, and we are at 800, and so we got 1, 2, 3, and what you can't see in this photo, sorry about that, is that this contour line loops around and it's the same as this one, and 4. All right. So there's 4 contour lines between 800 and 760. Do the subtraction. We are looking at a 10-foot contour interval. So where am I standing? Okay, so I wasn't too far off. How about that? Looking at maps, we got to try to locate ourselves. All right, if we look over there, we see a bunch of houses. What I will tell you is that those houses are on a street that goes that way and then bends off in that direction, and then later on comes back that way. We know we're about even with the second house from the corner of that street, so that gives us a general idea in a north-south direction. Speaking of directions, we are looking south, and we're standing on a high point. So I will place us on the topographic map. Now this is something we would do in person, and you would have this experience of trying to find yourself horizontally and vertically. This is the next best thing, so we'll just do that. All right, now we're going to head off into the woods. Yeah, this tree is now broken and blocking part of the trail. Well, that is different than the last time I was here. So 2 weeks ago we talked about groundwater, and here's some. The past 2 days, today's Friday, and on Wednesday and Thursday it rained kind of a lot. It rained so much that, well, there's all this water that's ponding on the surface here. Some of it is because of the rain, but most of it, in fact, the overwhelming majority of it, is here because that rainwater seeped into the ground and the ground is saturated. You are looking at the saturated zone, and what you are seeing is the water table. And the water table rose to the point where it is now above the ground here in this low spot of this area. So over time, this groundwater will seep back into the ground. This water table that you're seeing will not be visible because its level will be reduced, and this water is and will continue to flow into the river itself, which is off in that direction to our west-northwest. Let's go take a look at it. And before we do that, let's take a minute to locate ourselves. We are at the intersection of two trails, and if we look around off to the west, we see, you might be able to see that there's a third trail that crosses these. So where are we? Let's find ourselves on the image here, knowing that there is a wall of trees. There's this little tree right here, this little stand of trees right here, and we just came out of a stand of trees. All right, let's go see us a river. All right, here's an interesting phenomenon here. See this bend in the tree? Well, this bend in the tree that looks like this is telling you something about the landscape we're sitting on. So when we think of solid ground, when we think of the land, we think of something that is in fact actually solid. We think about it being immovable and static. But the truth is, this ground that we're sitting on is actually composed of sediment. Now, most of it is packed pretty tight, and when we stand on it and walk on it and even drive on it, it holds up. But the truth is, it's in motion. And it's in motion because gravity is constantly pulling on it. We're on a little bit of a slope here, just a little one, but gravity is constantly acting on every little particle that it makes up the ground here, even the microscopic ones. And so because of that pulling downward force, the ground itself will move and flow, and it will move downhill. It's a really slow movement. You can't observe it, but you can go somewhere and then come back maybe a year later and see that there's a difference. And that's called creep, C-R-E-E-P. The creep is a a force, is a phenomenon, is something that happens in the landscape due to gravity. So this tree, what does it have to do with this tree? Well, the tree is embedded in the land and is part of the land, and if the land is in motion, so is the tree, which means that as the hillside itself flows downhill real slow, the tree is also flowing, is also moving, and in fact, instead of being straight, it will grow, it will lean over. Now, trees don't like to grow like that. They like to grow straight up, so it will correct itself. And you'll see this bend is how it did that. And if we look way down here, we see that the bottom of the trunk of this tree is leaning in that direction, but it bends to be straight because that's how it really wants to grow. So the trees will correct themselves, and every bent tree that you see is an episode of responding to creep, and it's all around you. In fact, let's go take a look. Here's another tree that's bent at the bottom and has responded to creep. So the bottom trunk here, look at that. And we look up this tree. And in fact, of course, you know, the higher up you look on a tree, the further back in time you're going. And this tree right here, it's bent. It has corrected itself to be straight. But if you look up, it's bent there too. So there was an episode of creep when this tree was really young that it straightened itself out to. And of course, now that it had to correct itself again, it's still bent. There's a bunch of others. Look, here's a big tree. Look at the bend in this big tree right in front of us here. And then look up right there. See where that bend is? Yeah. And there's even another one up there. There's a whole bunch of them. This tree is old, and it has corrected itself for creep 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times in its history. The funny thing about creep, once you see it, once you see that trees have responded to it, you'll never unsee it. Every time you look at a tree, chances are you'll see, oh, that's a good one. You'll see evidence of creep. And you also see this with telephone poles too. If you're driving along the side of the road and there's a ditch along the side of the road and there's telephone poles in it, a lot of those poles are leaning over. It's also because of creep. It's all around us. Well, the lesson there is trees are cool. Well, in our last class, we talked about stream channels and oxbow lakes and how the Chippewa is a meandering river. So what we're looking at here, we are standing on a surface that's high, and then down there is it's a low surface, okay, and then it sort of curves off in that direction. We are seeing an old part of the stream channel. The stream channel will flood this area when the water levels rise, but it used to flow through here. It used to flow through here, and it doesn't anymore because it got too bendy and the water found a more efficient path, so it cut off this part of the bend and flowed in a new direction, flowed in a new path. What we're standing on, this surface, high surface that I'm standing on, is called a terrace. And a terrace is a high flat place above a stream channel that marks where the banks used to be. And if we look way off in that direction, you see another high surface over there. That is another former bank, and now it's a terrace, and it's about 5 feet higher than this one. That's older. That actual surface is older. I'm not talking about the dirt in it, I'm talking about the surface itself. It's older than the one we're standing on, which is older than that surface down there that we were looking at. Well, let's go look at the water itself. All right, here it is, the mighty Chippewa River. All right, we are standing on this steep bank here, This is a cut bank. This is a place where the stream is actively eroding. And you see that tree that's out there in the water? When I first started coming out here with students in 2009, that's where the bank was. So we're talking about a good 15 feet of erosion. This is new. I mean, this is new within the amount of time I've been here at CMU. These trees that are sticking up, bending over, they're doomed. They are going to fall into the water. What, I'd give that one there, I'd give that about 2 years. And look at what's going on here already. So this is a cut bank. So we are on the outside bend of the Chippewa River, because here it comes towards us and then it goes off in that direction, bending away from us. On the other side is the point bar. So the sediment is being eroded and taken away by the water from a place like this, carried in the fast part of the stream and deposited down there. So on the inside bend of a stream channel, the bank will grow. And here it will move, well, this one's moving that way. So over time, the channel itself is going to migrate towards us where we are. All right, well, let's get a little bit of a exciting view here. And while we do it, we can calculate some discharge. All right, here we are on the edge. I'm going to stand right up next to the edge and not fall in. And we're going to look out over there. How far away is that? How wide is the channel? Well, let's estimate. It's hard to do on a screen, but I'm here in person, so I can do it. How many of me are there? I'm going to say 10. Now, how deep is this water? Well, I tell you what, it's deeper than normal because, am I in focus? Yeah, it's deeper than normal because it has just rained and it's flowing faster than normal. How deep is this water? I don't know. I've been in this river a lot of times, so I'm just going to guess because I can't see the bottom. So we're doing an estimate of discharge, and I'm going to say it's 5 feet deep. How fast is the water going? Well, you can see the bubbles of foam that are going past us. So what I'm going to do that you can't see me do very well is I'm going to estimate how far 10 feet is, and I'm going to count when I see a bubble. Okay, 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, 4, okay. I'm going to say that this stream channel is flowing at about 3 feet a second. So let's do the math. 60 feet wide times 5 feet deep. All right, that's 300. Times 3. Well, that's 900. Okay, so every moment, according to my estimates, there are 900 cubic feet per second going by us. I multiply that by 7 gallons. 9 times 6,300 gallons. Yeah, okay. All right, well, the United States Geological Survey has stream gauges all over. And we'll take a look right now at these things and see what the actual instruments are recording. Okay, here we are at the USGS water website, waterdata.usgs.gov/NWIS. Okay, so I want to know what current conditions are for all the flowing streams in the nation. Actually, I just want to know about the Chippewa River. So I'm going to click on current data, and I get this map here, and I'm going to click on Michigan. And when I do, I get, well, look at that, Michigan. So if I hover my mouse over on these things, I get some data. And these are all the flowing stream channels in Michigan that are being measured. So what I want you to see here is that this is color-coded. Our stream here, the Chippewa River near Mount Pleasant, is in the 90th percentile. That means the water's flowing higher than it normally does. Okay, well, let's click on it. When we click on it, we're going to get a couple of charts here. And here we are. Let's look at this one first. So, here it is. Discharge in cubic feet per second. Let's take a look at what this says. Okay, here's discharge, 1,000, 2,000 cubic feet per second. Oh, here's where we were May 1st. We were here at the river on May 1st. Today is May 2nd that I'm talking to you right now. And what was our flow? Well, let's see. This line is 1,000. Okay, 1,100. So I was off by 200. Not bad, considering I was eyeballing how far it was across the channel. So, all right. Yesterday, when we went to visit, that's how much discharge there was. 1,100 cubic feet per second. We estimated 900. Now let's look at this chart here. How high was the water in the river from the bottom of the stream? Well, let's see. I estimated 5 feet. I couldn't see it, so I guessed. Not bad, actually. Maybe 5.8 feet. I did a pretty good job on that. Yay me. All right. I want to point out one more thing on the discharge chart here, and that is this. Take a look at the fact that we were here on this day. It was sunny. And this was a Friday, May 2nd, 1st. And this was a Thursday. It was raining all day. And this was a Wednesday, and it was raining all day. So we see the response of the Chippewa River to precipitation, more water. That makes sense. And notice how it's going down. So we didn't have any precipitation Friday or today so far. So we're going to see the discharge a little bit less. Well, in a class like this, when we're talking about science, a 100 level class, mostly we're talking about tests and lab activities and memorizing stuff so that we know it for later, but that's not most of the story of science, and that's not the reason I'm here doing it. It's about beauty. It's about looking around you and taking in what you see and explaining it in a way that brings you satisfaction, or I'll just say it, joy. And natural settings like this are precious, and we don't spend enough time in them. So what I'm going to do now is, for a minute, we're just going to be quiet. And if you're watching this on double speed, slow it down, okay? Because I want you to immerse yourselves in the sights and sounds that are around us in just a minute. Take that minute. I do love spring up here. It's a good thing. All right, let's head back to Dow. All right, so what you should do now is head on over to Blackboard if you haven't been doing it and take our little quiz for the field trip. So, you know, every class has a personality, and pretty much all the time it's fine. You know, the students are nice, you show up, do your work, and I show up and we have a good time, and then we go on about our lives. But sometimes there's classes that are just really cool. For whatever reason, things just click, and it's extra fun and extra cool to be around students. And this was one of those semesters with U2 classes. I had a good time, even online. So thank you, and that is a wrap on spring 2020 for this class. Everybody take care of yourselves.